US-Iran diplomacy may be back on the table, but President Donald Trump and Iran remain locked in a fresh confrontation over the future of the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump insists commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz will remain free, but Tehran appears to have a very different vision. Iran says the Strait of Hormuz cannot simply return to normal operations without addressing the consequences of the recent conflict. Who really controls the Strait of Hormuz now as Washington and Tehran push competing narratives over one of the world's busiest waterways? Reports say commercial routes through the Strait of Hormuz could remain open without permits, even as the wider dispute continues. Iran has rejected claims that the Strait of Hormuz has fully returned to normal, insisting key issues remain unresolved. Tehran says compensation for the recent conflict must be addressed before the Strait of Hormuz can fully return to normal operations. Mehdi Hasanvand said, and I quote, "The toll collection model is based on the idea that neighboring countries, together with the US, attacked a country and were defeated in that war, so they must pay compensation for it. Oman provided 4 military bases to the US. Therefore, Oman is not a neighboring country that has the right to receive tolls. Regarding Oman itself, it is also a country that should pay compensation. The war caused all countries in the region to experience lower economic growth over the past 5 months, and continuing the war will prolong this situation. Our proposal to Oman is that instead of paying war reparations all at once, we use the fee model to carry it out in installments and in a fair manner." Unquote. CENTCOM says commercial ships can continue passing safely through the Strait of Hormuz, but Tehran insists the situation is far from settled. While the United States says no transit fees should be imposed, Iran continues to argue that compensation for the war must come first. Can President Trump keep the Strait of Hormuz open for global shipping without Iran's approval or cooperation? The US military says the Strait of Hormuz remains open despite repeated Iranian threats and continued regional tensions. US Central Command statement read, and I quote, "The southern route through the Strait of Hormuz remains free and open for all commercial vessels seeking to transit the international waterway. Over the past 3 months, US forces have assisted more than 1,000 vessels in successfully transiting the strait despite unwarranted Iranian aggression, and these transits continue today." Unquote. Is Tehran now seeking to use shipping fees through the Strait of Hormuz as a way to recover the costs of the recent war? Iran and Oman are holding high-stakes discussions that could shape the future of navigation through the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. Direct US-Iran negotiations have yet to begin, but regional mediators say efforts to revive diplomacy are continuing behind the scenes. Qatar says diplomatic efforts are moving through what it describes as very progressive stages, raising hopes for renewed engagement.
Today we stand before a historic phase. The commitments that the Israeli side was required to implement are now fundamentally on the table, and it is clear before the international community who is obstructing the implementation of the agreement on the ground. The agreement related to President Trump's plan, reaching the second phase, and President Trump's declaration of support for this step through the posts he published in recent days, now places full responsibility on the Israeli side. However, instead of that, what we have witnessed in recent days, the escalation, the targeting of civilians in this manner, and the death of more than 30 martyrs as a result of these ongoing assaults, is nothing but an attempt at escalation, as we have seen at every stage when breakthroughs in negotiations were imminent, by seeking to obstruct the implementation of the plan and impede reaching peaceful solutions regarding the conflict there. Of course, firstly, we have learned through our role as mediators in various conflicts not to set any timelines regarding reaching an agreement. An agreement is reached when it is reached. Consequently, we are now working intensively with the parties at a leadership level from the state of Qatar, and we are engaged in all communications. Our hope, of course, is that an agreement will be reached as soon as possible, but we cannot set any timeline regarding the agreement at present. As of this moment, we cannot speak of an agreement having been reached, and when an agreement is reached, I assure you that you will probably learn of it before I do. Reaching an agreement, as you know, is a demand for all of us, and we are all working to get to that point. But so far, there is no agreement, as we have said, and things may change in the coming hours or days. We do not know. But as of now, we are still within the framework of attempting to reach an agreement. What matters to us now is a return to negotiations, and until we reach that point, certain things must happen on the ground, the first and most important of which, of course, is a return to the ceasefire and ensuring that ships are not attacked in freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. The Qatari position on this issue has been clear from the outset. Nothing less than a return to the previous status quo concerning the Strait of Hormuz is acceptable in accordance with international law and in consultation with all littoral states and stakeholders concerned with the strait. Accordingly, we are working within this framework, of course, in our communications with the parties.
Stages, and we are working with all the parties.
This crisis in our region is not confined to our region. As we always say, everyone is affected by it in one way or another. Therefore, we are very keen to communicate with all international partners to clarify not only the Qatari perspective but also the nature of the current situation and our commitments to our partners in economic terms, as well as our diplomatic commitments to reach an agreement. We always seek to secure support from all our international and regional partners to reach a diplomatic solution to this crisis. Contact with Russia are ongoing, as you know, on various files. But on this file specifically, as we have learned, there is coordination through this contact to stay abreast of the latest developments related to this file.
As you know, there are current efforts on the ground that are in very progressive stages, and we are working with all the parties to see this effort. So I can confirm that the efforts are ongoing as we speak. As you know, the mediators, Qatar, Pakistan, and now Oman are all working together on that issue. We are coordinating very closely with the Omanis to facilitate the talks between both sides and exchanging ideas and exchanging drafts between both sides. And we, of course, commend the Omani effort in aiding the mediation in this way. They have been taking a very important role and significant role in the past couple of weeks, but throughout the negotiations, everybody in the region, as I said, our GCC partners, wider than that, in the regional countries, have been working on these efforts. You probably have seen the calls between the ministers and leaders in the region during the past 48 hours. All of that is within the same effort. So I think all of us are working collectively, and we, of course, commend everybody who's working to get a deal across. Right now, we don't have anything on the books when it comes to direct talks, of course. We are doing our job as mediators along with Oman and the other mediators and Pakistan and everybody in the region in exchanging ideas between parties. But we are hopeful that if we can get a resumption of the talks anytime soon, we'd be able to push forward towards a major deal that would help us walk back into a situation of peace in our region.
Iran says Oman remains the only country currently negotiating the future of the Strait of Hormuz on its behalf. Could the next agreement on the Strait of Hormuz redraw the rules of Gulf shipping in the aftermath of the recent conflict?